Abbey.
And I'm Sharie Ross.
And welcome to this week's episode of Studio Q, Queen's student television program. This evening's lineup features stories of the surface referendum, Chili Fest, and theft in the ghetto.
Plus, we'll continue our election coverage with a special look at last Monday night's leadership debate.
But first, as we stand here on the steps of Summerhill House, in the background we can see the Queen's flag flies at half-mast in remembrance of Frank Tindall, who passed away on Tuesday. Mr. Tindall was the head coach of the Golden Gaels football team for over 29 years until he retired in 1975. A one-time CFL Rookie of the Year and All-Star, Frank Tindall was especially revered here at Queen's. As head coach, he led the Gaels to 8 Yates Cup victories and a national championship in 1968. Frank Tindall was adored and respected by both his players and colleagues. His death has saddened those who had the opportunity to know him.
He was a person who got the most out of everyone with whom he came in contact, particularly in the football area. And I think the best quote I've ever heard came from Ron Stewart, who said he'd never met a person who didn't like Frank Tindall.
To his players and associates, Tindall was both an effective motivator and sensitive authority figure.
We didn't just stress winning. We wanted the lads to be able to sort of set this aside and say, well, here, we've done our best and we've won the game, and so on and so forth. And we tried especially to avoid injury on either team.
Principal Smith was in Thunder Bay this week and could not be reached for comment. In a written statement, he said Tindall had an impact on Queen's life and people that was incomparable, and few people in the history of this university have tapped such deep well springs of loyalty, affection, and generosity among Queen's graduates. Frank Tindall was inducted into the Queen's Football Hall of Fame in 1983. Later this month, he will be the inaugural inductee of the newly formed Ontario University's Athletic Association Football Legends Hall of Fame. Frank Tindall was 84. Still to come on Studio Q,
cutting expenditures.
the federal leadership debate from a student's point of view. 5 uncommitted voters rate the leaders. Later on Studio Q.
Next week, arts and science students will have a chance to vote on the future of surface, the sometimes controversial paper on campus. The paper has ruffled a few feathers in the past, which has led to an organized anti-surface group to call for the referendum.
It's a very controversial, paper, and quite a large sum.
This afternoon, an open forum was held in the lower Cayley of the JDUC for students to hear the debate from both sides. With more of the issues at stake, here's Ari Goldkind.
With the surface referendum 1 week away, the debate over whether it should continue to be funded by ASIS is heating up. Surface represents many alternative viewpoints at Queen's, yet some feel that the paper has gone too far in some of the stories it has published.
About women's history.
While ASIS collectively supports Surface, a No to Surface campaign has emerged.
Surface is supposed to provide an alternative viewpoint, but the alternative it provides is one of racism, hatred, and violence.
Some students cite the fact that they do not want to pay for a paper that does not directly represent their views.
I'm an arts and science student. I'm not happy about being forced to pay for this publication, and so I'm going to vote no.
How much do students actually pay for the paper? Surface says it amounts to only 59 cents per student per year. ASIS feels that amount is worth it and voted in favor of supporting the paper at their last assembly meeting. But 2 ASIS assembly members that voted no did so because they felt that Surface should represent all arts and science students.
As an assembly member, I feel that we should be spending arts and science money on all arts and science students, not to select few Surface claims to represent.
But this issue of representation is at the heart of the debate. Surface says its role on campus is to provide viewpoints for those students who otherwise could not be heard, and not just to reaffirm the status quo.
Right. Surface is a completely contributory paper, and anyone in arts and science or across campus can contribute to the paper.
Those in favor of Surface question those who say the paper should not be funded.
But we all have different backgrounds and ways of seeing the world, and Surface provides a forum for those of us who are often excluded.
Much of the uproar about Surface arose from a story last year entitled How to Make Love to a White Boy. It was an extremely graphic article that upset many people on campus. Because of complaints about this and other stories, Surface has specifically undergone editorial changes.
We won't be printing an article and then having no basis in fact. Everything that will be printed will be backed up with factual information.
Surface has tried to put a critical base in every issue, on every article and letter. Last year, there wasn't too much of a critical base in some of the articles, some of the issues, but this year, we're trying to make a strong emphasis on that.
The No campaign responds with cynicism.
But we know that after 4 years of voicing concerns, raising issues with ASIS and with the editors, that they don't care.
Several members of the No campaign were asked to sit on an ASIS Surface Relations Committee, which is specifically designed to improve relations between students and the Surface Editorial Board.
I've nominated members of the current No campaign to be on the ASIS Surface Relations Committee, and the purpose of which was to allow constructive criticism of the paper in which we could improve the paper from their opinions, and they refused.
And I think that reading Surface is another way of learning at university and is an important part of Queen's for that reason.
The debate on Surface is clearly focused on years past. Students will now be able to make a clear and informed choice on who they feel should be given a forum to express their views. ASIS and the Surface editor emphasize that the paper is not intended to please everybody. They say it is a forum for marginalized voices to be heard on campus, and for that reason should not be censored. The question arts and science students now face is whether they should pay for such a forum. For Studio Q, I'm Ari Goldkind, reporting.
The Surface question won't be the only question to appear on next week's referendum. Students will be asked to vote on the funding of Queen's membership in USA, Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance, or whether to provide a fee increase for student constables, or whether to support the AMS Accessibility Task Force. And for engineers only, the Faculty of Applied Science is seeking public support for a formal name change.
Losing your assignment can be a traumatic experience for anyone. But can you imagine getting back from your weekend at home and finding out that your computer, TV, and stereo have gone missing? This happens more often than you might think. Jeniene Phillips explains.
The value of stolen residential merchandise in Kingston during the summer is estimated to be $150,000. House theft is particularly common in the ghetto during the summer vacation and December holidays. A group of students living in the ghetto has experienced theft several times.
So it's about 16 months. We've had 4 break-ins. I think we probably lost about $16,000 worth of stuff. And we haven't really replaced too much of it because it's too much money. We lost the best computer in the house, the best printer in the house, all the CDs, and there was a lot of CDs, all the CDs, a TV, a bag of clothing, I think, and some other miscellaneous stuff, but that's mostly the stuff. The CDs were the most valuable, really, when it comes down to it, because there's like 400 of them.
The AMS offers some tips to help students avoid break-ins.
There's also common sense things, like if you have a $15,000 stereo and 800 CDs, don't tell the whole world. Leave a couple lights on, or I know people that leave a radio on in the house or something like that, just on a station, so it sounds like somebody's home.
The police also have some advice.
We tell people to make sure that the doors are locked, even when they're home or even when they're just outside for that reason. It can happen that quickly.
We could keep our door locked. We have some pretty poor locks on some of our doors. We're getting them changed. Sometimes there's really not much that you can do. Like last time they broke through a window and they just smashed the window, so not a heck of a lot you can do about that.
Theft occurs most often when students go away.
Christmas time and vacation time, there's a lot of break-ins that occur.
We're broken into at reading week, and there's nothing you can do about that unless you have an alarm system, really, because it's so quiet here and there's no one around that they can just come in and spend as much time as they want in the house and break as much glass as they want, and no one will hear them.
But police say the situation is improving.
Overall, they're decreasing, but still, it's quite a traumatic experience.
Despite these new statistics, the victims offered their advice to other students.
That'd be my advice, just take your stuff home.
Yeah, and storage facilities. It's like $30 a month, and you get a 5x5 cubicle, so you can fit a lot of stuff in there. So if you get 4 or 5 people on that, you can just, it's like $5 or $6 each, and it's secure.
Although the statistics are improving, the Kingston police do encourage the safety proofing of student homes. Unfortunately, the ghetto remains a prime target for house theft. This is Jeniene Phillips reporting for Studio Q.
Take back the night
over 100 women gathered in a parking lot on Rideau Street Saturday night for this year's Take Back the Night walk. After several women had spoken, the women set out for a half-hour walk. The event, which is held every year, enables women to show that they have the right to walk alone at night without fear. Saturday night also saw a multicultural conference held at Dunning Auditorium. About 100 students turn out to hear several speakers talk about racism, diversity and peace. In addition, there was plenty of good food to go around, all from various ethnic and cultural backgrounds. It may have been cold Sunday morning, but that didn't stop the Kingston AIDS Project from holding its All Walks of Life walkathon. Over 100 Kingston residents and Queen's students took part in a 10-kilometre course. The goal was to raise money for local people infected with AIDS or HIV. And a special conference was held Tuesday for women in engineering at the Holiday Inn downtown. It was hosted by the Equality Issues Committee and dealt with topics such as job opportunities, sexual harassment, and the history of women in engineering.
And here's what's on where for this week. The Quiet Pub is closed Saturday for Thanksgiving, but next week picks up with lots of movie action. Next Thursday features The Bodyguard at 4 p.m. and Indian Summer at 6. Plus, they'll have all the Jays games on their Jumbotron and Y&R at lunchtime. At Kingston's premier pool pub, The Shot, be sure to catch Seinfeld and The Simpsons Thursday night, as well as Bedhead Fridays. On Monday, it's time for Monday Night Football. And to celebrate The Shot's second-year anniversary on Tuesday, be sure to catch Haskell and the Cleavers. Down at Dr. Gertie's, Thursday features a Vic Hall social. Friday has a Queen's basketball smoker. Catch the weekend Jays games, maybe witness the clincher. Plus, Sunday features all-you-can-eat spaghetti for a low, low price. And don't forget, every night is light night until 9:30. The Toucan has an impressive lineup of live entertainment. Thursday features Days of You. Friday sees Still Life take the stage. On Saturday, it's Sea Monsters. And Monday, it's the ever-popular Mahones. And back here on campus at Alfie's, there's an all-year nursing smoker Thursday night and an Arts 97 smoker on Friday. The underground pub will be closed for Thanksgiving. And that's what's on where for this week.
If you'd forgotten or just not realized we're in the middle of a federal election, then Monday night was your wake-up call, as your TV was taken over by the English language debate, when the 5 politicians met in Ottawa to debate over issues facing the country.
Various members of campus political groups met at AJ's to debate and heckle each other. But what did the debate mean to undecided student voters? Did the leaders address any issues that were of concern to university students, most of whom are first-time voters? We wanted to find out, so Sherry and I got together a panel of undecided voters and watched the debates together on campus.
As students of the 1990s, are there any particular questions or things you would like the parties to address tonight in their campaign debate?
I like to see some of the candidates get called on a number of things. I like to see John Chrétien get called on his stance on the GST and on free trade. I'd like to see Audrey McLaughlin the same thing, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't really think there's going to be much of a difference made, policy clarification, that sort of thing. A lot of talk, show.
It's not really I personally feel that more concrete issues need to be addressed. We're in a debt crisis in Canada right now, and people need answers where, our health care is being cut, and where are exactly these politicians standing on student issues? I have no idea.
There's a lot of talk, I think, from all parties with regards to social programs and what's going to happen one way or the other, either to make cuts to social programs or entrench social programs. As a student, I think we should all realize that when they talk about social programs, often what they mean are things like education. That's going to make a difference, I think, to a lot of us. It's going to make a difference in how much we're going to pay for tuition and how much we can expect out of the education that we get. So I'd like to see more of a breakdown when they talk about social programs, instead of it just being social programs versus any other kind of spending, because I think there is a difference.
Okay, well, there we have the beforehand for the debate, so we're hopefully going to see if some of these issues are addressed in this evening's debate, and we will talk afterwards and see if it's changed any undecided minds.
Detail of debate, somebody coming from...
There's a lot of things in my writing I don't agree with. Just your own research director has now backed down and said, no, it's probably $45,000. The fact of the matter is, you want to solve the problem.
And here we are at the aftermath of the live broadcast of the leadership campaign, where we're going to find out whether these undecided voters have been persuaded by these astute political rhetorics, or whether they haven't.
It seemed to me that the feedback a lot of people were giving was that the main parties, specifically maybe conservatives and liberals, were giving the same rhetoric as we usually hear in debates of this sort. Was that the indication a lot of people got here?
I felt that a lot of the leaders seemed to skirt the issues. They didn't really directly answer any of them, and so after a while you just didn't feel like listening anymore because you didn't feel like, trying to figure out what they were really trying to say.
I think skirting the issues is what a TV debate is all about. If you were a politician up there, you do the exact same thing, and I think the forum just lends itself to that perfectly. They can't go into their details. I mean, they would scratch the surface, but how much can you get in there? There's 5 people up there, each talking about job creation in Canada, where it's a huge problem, not just here, but all around the world.
There were a lot of questions that were yes or no, and I found Preston Manning sometimes gave yes or no answers. They said yes he would do, yes he would. They have a policy, they like to limit immigration to around 100 to 150,000 people. And he said, yes or no, would you do the same? And the other leaders some of them had some trouble answering questions like that.
The purpose of this, was there anybody, all being undecided voters, who has all of a sudden changed their direction or decided upon a direction to vote in the upcoming election based on this debate?
Or is anyone still undecided?
Still, it's made me decide to look more into it, maybe more information, newspapers, pamphlets, or whatever, not basing it on the televised.
Find out who represents you in Kingston?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm less undecided than I was before, but I'd still like to investigate my own constituency.
Definitely, I thought there were a lot of numbers being thrown around, but none of the issues were really dealt with, and I'm undecided.
For the time being, there you have it. We have with us 5 undecided voters who still remain undecided, and we'll see what happens in the future campaigns.
One of the leaders not invited to last Monday night's debate is Mel Hurtig, the leader of the National Party. Candidates are running in Kingston, and they are all around campus seeking support. Allison Grant takes a look at this new party.
On Tuesday night, the Queen's chapter of the National Party of Canada held their first general meeting in the John Deutsch University Centre. Only recently established by leader Mel Hurtig, the National Party boasts 171 candidates across Canada and is quickly gaining support in the final weeks of the election campaign. Their platform stresses ending Canadian free trade agreements, implementing progressive social programs, and reforming the political process. National Party candidate for Kingston and the Islands, Chris Papadopoulos, spoke to a crowd of 20 to 30 students, answering questions on the party's economic and social policies. The 27-year-old graduate from Queen's was quick to realize students' concerns.
And that's because the student federations basically, in principle, believe in the same things that the National Party does. And that is, for example, for post-secondary education, no tuition fees whatsoever.
Some students attending the meeting were encouraged with what Papadopoulos had to say.
I think they have a reasonable chance of success. Of course, only being a party for 10 months, your chances of being elected in the upcoming federal election are fairly slim. But in years to come, I could see them being quite a powerful national voice.
Richard Kixey, founder of the National Party at Queen's, has been pleased with the level of student interest.
As far as on the campus in general, I've found that people I talk to are quite receptive to our ideas, and they're quite interested in finding out about us.
Other students, however, are concerned about the viability of such a new party.
Great detail, no. Because they, like I said, they just arose so recently, they seem to be sort of fly-by-night right now, so I'm not really following them.
I think they're too small. They don't have enough issues that are relevant in today's economy.
I hope they make a difference. That's all I can say.
For more information on the National Party of Canada, contact the regional headquarters at 389-0543. The National Party is still small, but quickly gaining strength on campus and across the country. By promising change, the National Party does hope to make a real difference for Canadians. For Studio Q, I'm Allison Grant reporting.
My favorite song is Drowning Man by U2.
Can you sing it for me?
No.
Dun, 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 dun. All right.
Oh, Carolina. There's no question.
In the middle of the night, I go walking in my dreams. I don't know the rest.
I'm too sexy.
Oh, Carolina.
I don't know how the rest
Oh,
of it goes.
Carolina is a girl. She dances like no other. Oh, Carolina.
I'm gonna be a dental floss tycoon. Okay, that's all I can do. Sorry. Oh, Courage by the Tragically Hip.
Can you sing it at the count of 3?
Courage, my word, it didn't come, it doesn't matter.
Georgia, Georgia, no peace I find. Just a sweet old song leaves Georgia on my mind.
Life's a Highway by Tom Cochrane.
Can you sing it for me?
Not very well.
It's a Brandenburg Concerto by Bach.
Can you sing it? Oh, you can't sing
I
it.
can sing it. I can sing it. No, I cannot sing it. I'm afraid I can't.
Thanks a lot.
Courage!
Oh, Copa. Copacabana.
Problems that upset you, oh.
Come as you are, as you were, as I want you to be. No, I'm in a meeting. Thank you.
If you couldn't wait to get home this weekend for some real food, you could have gone to the 3rd annual Chili Fest at Confederation Park and left the cooking to someone else. Here's Cathi White with some of the hot details.
People of Queens, welcome to Chili Fest 93. All ye come down, eat to your heart's content. You won't have to eat for a week.
Hundreds of people sampled chili from over 50 restaurants this past Saturday at Confederation Park. A culinary extravaganza that raised over $11,000 in support of Hospice Kingston, a charity organization which administers the needs of the terminally ill. The rain and cold temperatures didn't hamper the hunger for the hot chili. Restaurateurs and spectators of all ages enjoyed a variety of festive activities, including an antique car show and some lively entertainment. But the order of the day was a chili taste journey of enormous proportions.
Good stuff.
I'm going to spend the afternoon on my back burping and hiccuping. Major indigestion here today.
Despite the weather, Chili Fest 93 proved to be a success. Many Kingstonians came out to sample a variety of culinary chili delights. Congratulations are in order to CFB Kingston, who won the People's Choice Award for favorite chili. And congratulations to all those who came out and donated their time and chili to support Kingston's hospice. For Studio Q, this is Cathi White reporting.
Hey 94s, we're already halfway through October, and are you already feeling lost? Adrift in life? Depressed? Do you feel you've thrown $40,000 into an education that's not going to get you anywhere? If you do, don't worry, because you're not alone. We like to call it the 4th year blues. Jen Mondoux has the symptoms.
Getting your grad photos taken is probably not something you ever thought would roll around so soon. After all, it seems that just yesterday most of us were setting foot on this campus. In just 8 short months, however, convocation will have become a reality for the class of '94. If you're in no way feeling ready to graduate, at least you're not alone. The big question, of course, is what to do afterwards. Grad school, employment, traveling, these are only some of the options that 4th year students are being forced to consider for their life after Queen's. Meet 22-year-old biology major Heather Gosselin. Like everyone else in the lean 90s, the main issue which will determine whether or not Heather goes to grad school next year is not how well she does on her GREs, but whether or not she'll be able to support herself financially through school.
What I'm worried about now is what I'm going to do next year. If I get into grad school, do I have the money to go since the tuitions are going up? So I'll probably have to take a year off to work and make money.
Obviously, money is a big factor for many students who are now considering graduate-level education. But as Cathi Purcell from Career Planning explains, tuition increases aren't the only thing to worry about.
To apply to graduate school is a timely and costly measure. If you're looking for an academic master's program, application fees can range between $15 and $40. That's usually the range. And for professional programs, it can range from $25 to $150. This is per school, per program. So, you know, if you want to keep a lot of options open and you want to apply to a number of schools, it can run you up to $1,000 in application fees alone.
Some undergraduate faculties do have more options than others, however. If you're in commerce, for example, at least you have the chance of getting a job through corporate recruitment. But once again, your odds are slim.
For example, there's one company that's hiring 2 people from 5 schools. And if you think there's 184 people in my faculty that maybe, say, 20% of us are applying, you're up against a lot of odds.
If all else fails, there's always the 5-year plan. After all, being a career student is not as bad as it's cracked up to be. For Studio Q, I'm Jen Mondoux reporting. Next week, Studio Q goes to new heights. Hold on to your seats as we visit skydiving class. Next week, only on Studio Q.
Hi, this is Paul Bertrand with the Studio Q Sports Break. The girls' field hockey team played 2 games this past week. The first at Carleton saw the Gales beat the Ravens 1-0. On Saturday, however, McGill and Queens played to a scoreless deadlock. With these 2 matches, the field hockey team's record now stands at 2-4-4. Both men's rugby teams defeated York University handily last week, the first winning 31-12, and the seconds posting a 43-0 shellacking of the Yeomen. On Saturday, the seconds again triumphed over Waterloo 19-3, but the first lost a close contest to the Warriors 19-17. The football team suffered another disappointing loss on the weekend as Concordia stung the Gales 19-16. The loss puts their record at 1-3, and the football team now resides in the OQIFC cellar. Of perhaps worse news to the team is that star tailback Brad Elberg suffered light tissue damage to his lower right leg and is expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks of the season. In other sports action, the women's tennis team posted 2 victories on the weekend, beating both Laurier and U of T 9-0. The men defeated Ottawa 7-0, but were narrowly beaten 4-3 by Western. The cross-country team had a great weekend, with the men placing 4th and the women triumphing at Laurentian. In aquatic action, the men's water polo team downed both Ottawa and Carleton on the weekend to the tune of 11-5. And that's Paul Bertrand for Studio Q Sports.
And that just about wraps things up. Just a reminder, we're on every Thursday and Friday evening at 6 o'clock on CableNet 13.
If you have any comments, suggestions, or whatever, just give us a call at 545-6699 or drop us a line at Studio Q, room 22, JDUC, Queen's University, K7L 3N6.
So that's Studio Q for this week. Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, everybody have a fun, safe Thanksgiving, and we'll see you back here next week.
I'm Sharie Ross.
And I'm Graham Abbey.
See ya.